Ron Hall was an international art dealer with more money than he and his wife Debbie could ever possibly need. They had everything but a loving marriage.
We don't share the same life. We don't share anything.
You can leave. You choose.
When Ron's unfaithfulness was brought to light, Debbie asked Ron to serve with her at an inner-city rescue mission. It was there that their lives were changed forever, when Debbie befriended a homeless man named Denver. A new movie hits theaters October 20th, Same Kind of Different as Me. It stars Greg Kinnear and Renee Zellweger and is based on the true story from the best-selling book.
I worried I was so different from other people, but what I found out was everybody's different. Same kind of different as me.
Ron Hall joins us now. Ron, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Terry.
What an amazing story. The book first and now the movie about to come out, which we'll talk about in a moment. But when you and your wife were working on putting your marriage back together, you made a promise to her, and it was that promise that actually brought you to that center where you were serving meals to the homeless.
Exactly. Well, I made a promise for her forgiveness. She gave me Christ-like forgiveness for a sin that I nearly destroyed a family. And she threw my sin as far as the east is from the west, never to bring it up again. And for that kind of forgiveness, I promised I would do anything she asked me the rest of our lives together. But really the only thing she had asked me up to that point was just to be faithful and tithe and be active in our church is all. But so I was just paying back the promise.
But she had a dream. That's really what kicked off this whole story, this whole relationship with Denver, the man we're going to talk about in a moment. What was the dream?
Well, she had a literal dream from God, and my wife was a God chaser, so this didn't surprise me that she had this dream. But she dreamed that there was found in the city a certain poor man who was wise, and by his wisdom our city and our lives were changed. It was like straight out of the verse of Ecclesiastes 9:15. And so she asked me to go to find this man of her dream.
You're literally driving around looking to see if you can, because she would recognize this man.
We were driving very slow through the city, and people were looking at us like we were crazy. And we were driving through all the homeless haunts where there'd be hundreds of homeless people. And so we didn't see him, and so we decided that afternoon, she said, well, let's just stop in at this homeless shelter nearby. And so we began volunteering to serve at the homeless shelter, and we'd been there a couple of weeks serving an evening meal, I guess, when all of a sudden he comes.
Yeah, in comes Denver. Explain that first moment.
Well, we were serving behind the serving line, and the men were coming out of the chapel service, and everything was very normal. And then all of a sudden, in the side door, in comes this giant-looking African-American man. He had on no shirt and no shoes, and some just raggedy old unzipped breeches, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, I'm going to kill whoever done it. I'm going to kill whoever stole my shoes. And
I'm surprised you didn't take yours off at the moment and just offer them.
That's a good, I hadn't thought about that, Terry. You're quick. I like that. I should take you with me the next time.
I'm going.
But anyway, she said, that's the man in my dream. I said, which one? She said, that's the one threatening to kill everybody. And she looked at me. By then I was on my knees, not in prayer. I was just so scared that I was going to be killed that I hit my knees. So, and so she looked down at me and she said, and I believe I heard from God that you have to be his friend. And I said, but Debbie, I wasn't at that meeting you had with God. And if I'm going to be friends with someone who wants to kill everybody, I think I should go talk to God myself.
Wow. So how did that initial encounter, not that encounter, but where you actually entered into the space of Denver's life, how did that happen?
Well, it took 5 months. Debbie, every day before I would go to my art gallery or my ranch, I was both a rancher and an art dealer. And before I would choose where I was going that day, she said, would you just please take a drive through the inner city and see if you can get him in my car, in your car, to find out if my dream is real. I know that if we can find out who he is, and if he is a poor wise man, I'll know that my dream was really from God. So
eventually you came into this relationship with him, but you know, it wasn't all easy. His mantra was, we're all homeless, and that really, we're just working our way home. That really proved to be a truth that you embraced after a time.
Well, it is.
For all of us, really.
It is. You know, as believers, you know, we don't think about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I was asking him one of the first days I was sitting with him on the curb, I said, well, what's it like to be homeless? And he said, I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
Wow.
And I said, well, Denver, I'm not homeless, and I've never been. And he said, but Mr. Ron, think about it. Whether we is rich or whether we's poor or something in between, this earth ain't no final resting place. So in a way, we're all homeless, just working our way home.
He had a lot of wisdom in much of what he said to you. I mean, he talked to you about judgment, too, in such a powerful way.
Well, he did. You know, he was a poor man who's wise. There's no doubt he was the man of Debbie's dream, that God gave her this dream. Yes, he told me one day when I was standing in judgment of some of the homeless people that were not behaving correctly, he told me, he said, Mr. Ron, look down at the end of the street. What do you see there? I said, I see the courthouse. And he said, exactly. He said, let me tell you something. The courthouse is full of judges. God's not looking for any more of those. He said, the God is looking for servants. And if you're going to walk the streets with me, you need to learn to be a servant and not a judge.
Wow. The kind of statements that really just kind of rock you almost with the intensity of their truth and their wisdom. Debbie became sick and passed away in 2000.
Yes, and he told me 3 days before she was diagnosed that she was getting ready, something really bad was getting ready to happen to Miss Debbie.
Really?
Yes.
So he was a very prophetic man.
He was, enormously. In fact, every morning he said something bad's getting ready to happen to Miss Debbie. He said Miss Debbie's become important. He's become precious to God for all the work she's doing with the homeless. He said, when you become precious to God, you become important to Satan. He said, watch your backside, something bad getting ready to happen.
Wow. What was her dying wish?
Well, her dying wish to me was, don't give up on Denver. God is going to bless your friendship in a way that you can never imagine.
What came about as a result of that friendship? Eventually, Denver came to live with you and your children.
Well, he did. Denver came, he moved in with me and my 2 children at the time, and we became a family, but my children moved out to get married and things, and so Denver and I were left together for the last 12 years of his life. And he joined Miss Debbie in heaven just 5 years ago. But during this time, we wrote a book. It became the New York Times bestseller for 3.5 years, and we began producing this film on our friendship and our lives. And we traveled across the country. We did over 800 events and raised more than $100 million for the homeless all across America. And we just started a new campaign with PureFlix called Making a Difference Across America that will go live on October the 18th.
What do you want people to take away from this film when they see it, Ron?
I want them to walk out seeing the homeless and just seeing people in general with the lenses of God, the eyes of God, not just homeless people, but everybody. I want just our campaign and Making a Difference Across America is all about doing random acts of kindness and paying it forward. And so that's what I want people to begin to do. Just one random act of kindness at a time. Let's change America.
That would really make America great again, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be so good.
Yeah, it would be so good. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the message that you bring. If you want to learn more, Ron's book is called The Same Kind of Different as Me. It's a bestseller. You need to read it. It's available wherever books are sold. And here's something else you don't want to miss. The movie opens in theaters October 20th, and it stars Greg Kinnear and Renee Zellweger. Check out where it's being available in your area, and don't miss it. Thank you so much. What a good word.
Thank you. What an honor to be here.